right, for today, we are looking at section 6.1. I left this quote on here. I normally have this at the very start of the chapter. I love this quote. Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. And that is so true. You should love going to work every day. If the job that you are working does not put a smile on your face, then you're not in the right job. Okay? So you want to make sure that whatever it is you do with your life, make sure you enjoy going to work every day. Because it's something you do every day. It's something you do 8+ hours a day. It is what you spend the majority of your time doing. So make sure you're picking a job that you actually love. At this point, big old arrow, red flag, you need a calculator. So go grab one if you do not already have one in hand. All right, so section 6.1 is looking for employment. It should be pretty quick, simple section. Just computing a periodic salary based on the annual contract salary and interpreting abbreviations in classified ads. All right, so this first part, this is definitely something you'll maybe want to kind of take a minute to look through on your own. Some older statistics with just some interesting things. There are 6.8 million workers called moonlighters. Those are people that hold more than one job. The average work week is about 47 hours, and 50% of workers work more than 40 hours per week, which is crazy because we all know that 40 hours is a typical work week. The average commute to work is 25.8 minutes. That's how long it takes someone to get to work every day. Millennials, ages 18 to 34, as of 2015, are now in the largest age group in the workforce, and a much smaller percentage of teenagers today work today than compared to the 1970s. So I don't know what that says about teenagers. I mean, you guys are lazy. I don't know. But unfortunately, the statistics, teenagers are not working jobs like they used to. All right. So when you're looking for an employment online or in the newspaper, it's important to know what the abbreviations represent. So here's a list of some different abbreviations. A lot of them to me are pretty obvious. For AGCY is agency, for employment agency. You can kind of read through this list. Most of them are pretty, I think, self-explanatory. FT is full-time. GD is good. I don't know why you can't put two other O's in there. K is 1,000, so that's one to make sure we know, being a math class. So just some, you can kind of glance through this list and kind of peruse those. But for me, personally, I think they're pretty obvious. But take a look, read through those, make sure you understand what those are. All right, so lots of vocab in this class. So first one is employment agency. So again, make sure you're jotting this down on your notes. An employment agency is a business that helps people find jobs and helps employers to find employees. So in other words, this is for those people who cannot on their own just go to a business, apply, and get a job. It's kind of like that middleman. It's somebody who's working to put people in the right jobs when people can't find them themselves. Resume is a short account of your education and qualifications for employment. If you have not already done so, which I believe at this point in your academic career you should already have one on file, one that you've made. But it's definitely something you want to make sure you have access to. And every time you get a new job, even now, even in high school, every time you get a new job, pull up your resume and update it. Because there's nothing worse than going to make a resume and being like, I don't remember when I worked where. So it's something you want to kind of keep up to date. It's a living document. Every time you get a new job, quit a job, whatever, make sure you're updating that. And then a W-4, and we'll talk more about W-4s in our taxes chapter. But once you're hired and you fill out a W-4 form, it's a form used by employers for tax purposes. So this is the type of form that you say, like, I'm claiming 0, claiming 1, claiming 2, and it keeps track of how much money they take out for your taxes. But again, we'll get into that one more in depth in our taxes chapter. So first of all, how many in a year? So just kind of filling in what it means. If something is done annually, how many times per year does that happen? And that would be 1 time per year. Semi-annual, this is how often you really should go to the dentist. Semi-annual would be 2 times per year, right? You should go to the dentist every 6 months. Monthly, months in a year would be 12. Semi-monthly, which would mean 2 times per month. So 12 times 2 is 24 times in a year. Weekly, there are 52 weeks in a year. Bi-weekly means every other week, which would be 26, right? 52 divided by 2 is 26. Quarterly, how many quarters does it make to take a dollar? It would be 4. Quarter is to split it into 4 parts. And then daily, there are 365 days in a year. We are not even going to talk about leap years. All right, so we've been through that before. So number 1, Julianne found a job listed in the classified ads that pays a yearly salary of $41K. What is the weekly salary based on the annual salary? All right, so for the year, she's making $41K. Well, 41K stands for 1,000, which means she's going to make $41,000 per year. So the question wants to know, what is the weekly? Well, how many weeks are in a year? There are 52. So in order to change this yearly to weekly, we would have to divide by 52. So 41,000 divided by 52. That means she would make $788.46 per week. All right, so if I had asked for what is her monthly salary, we'd have divided by 12 to change that to monthly. So we always got to look and see what you're converting it to. All right, number 2, Karen found a job with an annual salary of $67.3K. So 67.3K stands for 1,000. So 67.3 times 1,000 gives us 67,300. All right, that's how much she makes per year. All right, annual salary, so that's per year. What is her monthly pay rounded to the nearest dollar? So monthly is 12. That's 12 times a year. So we have to take her yearly and divide it by 12. And we get $5,608.33. But since it wants it rounded to the nearest dollar, that 33 cents is not going to round up. That would actually round down. So 5,608. Make sure that you are always reading very carefully. If I'm asking you to round to a certain place and you do not, then you will lose points. Okay, so make sure you're always double checking that. All right, number 3, Dylan took an applicant paid job through an employment agency. The job pays $395 per week. Dylan must pay a fee to the employment agency, right? The employment agency does not do this out of the goodness of their heart. They are going to take part of the money that you make. The fee is 20% of the first 4 weeks' pay. How much money must Dylan pay the agency? Well, let's see. If we know that he makes $395 per week, and they're going to take 4 weeks, let's figure out how much would he make in 4 weeks. All right, $395 times 4, he would make $1,580 for 4 weeks. Well, they're going to take 20% of that. So we multiply by 0.20 or 0.2. Remember, we always have to change percentages to decimals. To do that, you just divide those by 100 if you're unsure. All right, so 1,580 times 20% or 0.2 or 0.20. The employment agency will take $316 of his pay. So if you have to use an employment agency, it's nice they find you the job, but they do that because then they make money off of you. Number 4, Ken is a mechanic who owns Ace Auto Repair. He needs a foreign car expert and is placing a 12-line ad on JobsRUs.com. So 12 lines. The cost of an ad, X lines long, is given by the following piecewise function. All right, and don't get overwhelmed by this, okay? This is a lot easier than it looks. So right here, the C of X, that stands for the cost. And then the X was how many lines, right? X lines long. So this is saying the cost for how many lines. So if you look over here, if X is less than or equal to 4, so this is when the lines that they're placing in their ad, if it's less than or equal to 4, this would be your price. If X is greater than 4, if the number of lines is more than 4, then you would plug in how many lines for X and figure that out. So if he is, find the cost of a 12-line ad. All right, so if it's 12 lines, you got to figure out which line does it go in. Is it less than or equal to 4? Well, no, it's 12, so that's not his. So this is where we're looking, right? Because 12 is greater than 4. So all we're doing is just plug it in, right? Right for X. So 56 plus 6 times 12 minus 4. You just take how many lines, and I'm just plugging it into that formula. And if you're not great with your basic math, that's okay. Grab a calculator. I'm literally going to type in exactly the way I see it. And it's going to cost me $104. So what this really means then, if I have 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, it's no matter what, it's going to cost me $56, right? So then what that means is anything 4 lines or less is 56, whereas anything 4 lines or more than 4 lines, it's going to cost me 56 plus an additional amount. Okay, so don't make this harder than it has to be. Literally just figure out what line you fit in and then plug in your value for X. Okay? All right, so number 5. Roger is a graphic artist, so his resume is several pages long and includes an artistic portfolio. His prospective employers want hard copies of his resume, so he wants to have 400 copies of his resume printed. I don't know about you, but that seems like a whole lot of copies. His local print shop charges $91.50 for the first 200 and $42 for every 100 additional copies. How much will the 400 copies cost, including a sales tax of 6%? So first, let's figure out how much is it going to cost him just to make the copies. So at this point, go ahead and hit pause and try this problem on your own and see what you can come up with. All right, hopefully now you've tried this one on your own. If not, hit pause, do it on your own. But let's see how this works. So if he wants 400 copies, we know it says that they are breaking that down. It's $91.50 for the first 200. So 200 of those copies is going to cost him $91.50. And then for every 100 additional, it's $42. So another 100 is $42. I'm only up to 300 copies, so I need another 100, which is another $42. Right, so that'll get me my 400 copies that I wanted. So yay, that's what I wanted. And then how much is that going to cost? $91.50 plus 42 plus 42. It will cost him $175.50. I don't know about Roger, but I'd be asking why they need 400 copies of that, right? Seems like an awful lot. All right, last one. An online job search site charges employers fees to post job listings. Their price list is shown in the table. The prices per posting decrease as a number of postings increase, which makes sense, right? They're like hoping that you post more. So the more that you post, their price is actually lower. They're giving you kind of like a bulk discount kind of thing. What is the percent savings if an employer decides to post 4 jobs? Right, so you're going to see lots of different questions throughout the entire semester that talk about percents. If it's talking about a percent discount, percent increase, percent decrease, anything like that, it's always set up the same way. So you want to make note of kind of this formula here that you're going to want to memorize and understand how to work. All right, so when it wants the original price minus the discount price, or instead of discount, sometimes I always think of this as the new price. So this is looking at they want to do 4 job postings compared to if I just did 1. So the original would be like for 1 job posting, which 1 is $3.95 minus discount price or the new price, and since we're talking about 4, it's only going to cost me $350 per posting, right? So the more I post, they kind of help me out, save me some money. And then you divide by, again, that original, which was $3.95. Whatever number is like your first number here is always the bottom number here, okay? So it's original versus minus the discount. I like to think of it also sometimes as old minus new over old. The old price minus the new price divided by the old price. Old minus new over old. So original has too many syllables, right? I'm a lazy mathematician. Old minus new over old is a lot easier to remember. And then we take that answer and multiply it by 100 since we're talking about a percentage to see what we get. So 395 minus 350 is 45 divided by 395. And then multiply that by 100. And we get 11.4%. So in other words, the question's asking you, like, if I posted one, it's only $395, but if I post four, they're only $350 a piece. So it's $45 cheaper every single time. So I'm saving about 11.5% almost, right? 11.4%. It's like a discount. So that's a way of figuring out what percent of a discount are you getting by the more you post. So make sure that you are memorizing, making notes of this formula, right? However you want to think about it. I like to think of it as old minus new. Don't forget the times 100 on here. To me, that makes more sense. It's a lot shorter too. So whatever works for you guys. So as always, if you have questions, please reach out and let me know. But that is it for today.